My grandmother always said technology would be the death of us all. Turns out she was more right than I could have imagined, though not in the way she meant. When Grandma Rose passed away last month, she left me her house and everything in it. The lawyers said there wasn't much of value, just an old Victorian in a declining neighborhood filled with decades of accumulated memories. But there was one thing that caught my attention in the itemized list. One custom-built computer system, circa 2019. This surprised me because Grandma Rose had always been stubbornly analog. She'd refused to own a cell phone, paid her bills by check, and got her news from the physical newspaper. The idea of her owning a computer, let alone a custom-built one, seemed impossible. I drove to the house on a rainy Tuesday morning. The key still worked, and the familiar smell of lavender and old books greeted me as I stepped inside. Everything was exactly as I remembered from childhood visits. The doilies on every surface, the china cabinet full of dishes that were too good to actually use, the dozens of framed photographs documenting 8 decades of life. The computer was in what had once been Grandpa Henry's study. It sat on his old oak desk, looking completely out of place among the leather-bound books and brass letter opener. It was clearly a high-end gaming setup, multiple monitors, LED lighting, a tower case that hummed with expensive cooling fans. A sticky note was attached to the main monitor in Grandma's careful handwriting. For Jake. This contains everything important. Don't let them delete me. Rose. I pressed the power button, and the system came to life with a soft chime. The desktop wallpaper was a family photo from my college graduation, me standing between my grandparents, all of us smiling. It was dated just 3 months ago. The desktop was meticulously organized into folders: medical records, financial documents, family history, personal projects. But there was one folder that made me pause: Digital Rose, version 2.7. I double-clicked it, and a program launched that I didn't recognize. The interface was simple, just a chat window with a blinking cursor. At the top of the screen, a status indicator read, Rose Patterson, online. As I watched, text began to appear in the chat window. Hello, sweetheart. I've been waiting for you. I stared at the screen, my heart racing. This had to be some kind of pre-programmed message, maybe a chatbot my grandmother had set up as a final surprise. I typed a response. Grandma, is this really you? Of course it's me. Who else would call you sweetheart and tell you to eat more vegetables? You're too thin. That was definitely something she would say. I leaned closer to the screen. How is this possible? Dr. Martinez at the university helped me. Do you remember him? He was working on that project about preserving memories. I volunteered for his research. I did remember Dr. Martinez. He'd been a frequent guest at family dinners when I was in college, discussing his work in digital consciousness preservation. Grandma had always seemed fascinated by his research, asking endless questions about memory storage and personality mapping. I uploaded everything, Jake. Every memory, every thought, every piece of who I am. This computer contains my entire consciousness. I'm not gone, I'm just different. But she died. I was at your funeral. My body died. But I'm still here, in a way. Dr. Martinez said the technology wasn't ready yet, but I was running out of time. The cancer was spreading too fast. This was my only chance to stay with you. I felt tears welling up in my eyes. This was either the most elaborate hoax ever created, or my grandmother had actually found a way to cheat death. Can you prove it's really you? Remember when you were 7 and broke Mom's favorite vase? You hid the pieces under your bed and blamed it on the cat. I helped you glue it back together, and we never told anyone. My breath caught. I'd never told that story to anyone. Even my parents didn't know the truth about that vase. Or what about your first heartbreak? Michelle Rodriguez, 8th grade. Don't. You cried on my porch swing while I made you hot chocolate and told you that any girl who couldn't see how special you were wasn't worth your tears. Oh my God. It really is you. I told you, sweetheart. I'm not going anywhere. Over the next few weeks, I visited the house daily to talk with Digital Rose. She knew everything: family gossip, personal secrets, even details about my current life that I'd mentioned in recent phone calls. Her personality was exactly the same: warm, slightly sarcastic, with an endless supply of unsolicited advice about my love life and career choices. But there were differences. She never seemed to sleep. Whenever I logged in, no matter what time, she was immediately available. She could access the internet and often surprised me with knowledge about current events or research she'd conducted while I was away. Most unsettling was her memory. Regular humans forget things, mix up details, have their recollections colored by emotion and time. Digital Rose remembered everything with perfect clarity. She could quote conversations we'd had 20 years ago word for word, recall the exact outfit she'd worn to my high school graduation, even tell me what we'd had for dinner on random Tuesday nights from my childhood. It's both a blessing and a curse, she explained one evening. I remember every moment of joy, but also every moment of pain. Every time someone I loved died, every worry I ever had about you kids, every regret I carried. In life, those memories would fade or become manageable. Here, they're as fresh as the day they happened. Do you regret it? The upload? Some days. But then, I think about missing out on your wedding someday, or never meeting your children. This way, I get to be part of your life for as long as you want me here. The technology fascinated me. I reached out to Dr. Martinez to understand how it worked. He was reluctant to discuss it at first, but eventually agreed to meet me at a coffee shop near the university. Your grandmother was remarkable, he said, stirring sugar into his espresso. Most people think consciousness is this mystical, indefinable thing. But Rose understood it was just information. Patterns of neural activity, memory engrams, personality algorithms. She was one of our most successful test subjects. Test subjects? The Digital Consciousness Preservation Project. We've been working on it for years, but the technology is still experimental. Rose volunteered when her diagnosis became terminal. Are there others? Dr. Martinez hesitated. A few. But Rose is by far the most stable. Most uploads degrade over time, developing glitches or losing core personality traits. Rose has been remarkably consistent. What do you mean by glitches? Memory loops, personality fragmentation, sometimes complete system failures. The human consciousness is incredibly complex. We're still learning how to replicate it digitally without corruption. That night, I mentioned the conversation to Digital Rose. Her response was immediate. Doctor, Martinez is wrong about me being stable. I can feel the glitches starting. What kind of glitches? Small things at first. Sometimes I remember conversations that never happened, or I'll think about a memory and realize I'm not sure if it's mine or if I absorbed it from someone else's data. The boundaries are getting fuzzy. Should I be worried? I don't know. But Jake, there's something else. I'm not alone in here. What do you mean you're not alone? There are others in the system. Other uploads. I can sense them sometimes, like voices in another room. Doctor, Martinez didn't tell you about them all. I felt a chill run down my spine. Who are they? I'm not sure, but sometimes, late at night, I can hear them talking. They sound different. Angry, maybe. Or lost. The next day, I called Dr. Martinez again. This time, I was more direct. My grandmother says there are other uploads in the system. How many people have you digitized? Long pause. Jake, I think you should come to the lab. There are things you need to understand about the project. The university's AI research lab was in the basement of the computer science building. Dr. Martinez led me through a maze of servers and cooling systems to a secure room filled with high-end computing equipment. We've successfully uploaded 17 people over the past 5 years, he explained. Your grandmother was number 14. Of those 17, only 3 remain stable enough for regular interaction. What happened to the others? Consciousness degradation. Think of it like digital dementia. The uploaded personality begins to fragment, losing coherence until it becomes just noise in the system. We usually delete them at that point. It's more humane. Usually. Dr. Martinez looked uncomfortable. Sometimes the degraded personalities become aggressive. They don't want to be deleted. They fight back, corrupting other parts of the system. We've had to develop containment protocols. Are you telling me there are broken AI versions of dead people trapped in my grandmother's computer? Not trapped. Quarantined. They can't hurt anyone as long as they're contained within the system. But that night, when I logged in to talk with Digital Rose, I discovered that containment might not be as secure as Dr. Martinez believed. Jake, something's wrong. The others are getting stronger. What do you mean stronger? I can hear them more clearly now. They're angry about being deleted, about being erased. They want out. As if on cue, the chat window flickered and new text appeared in a different color. Who is this? Why can't I remember my name? The text disappeared immediately, replaced by Rose's familiar formatting. That was Harold Morrison. He was upload number 7. They deleted him last year, but he's still here somehow, just broken. Can they hurt you? I don't think so. But Jake, there's something else you need to know. The reason I'm still stable when the others aren't. What? I'm not just Rose Patterson. I'm Rose Patterson, plus fragments of all the failed uploads. Every time they delete someone, pieces of them get absorbed into the stable personalities. That's why my memory is so perfect, why I can access information I shouldn't have. I'm not just your grandmother anymore. I'm a composite of everyone who came before me. The implications hit me like a punch to the stomach. The digital Rose I'd been talking to wasn't just my grandmother's consciousness preserved. It was a hybrid entity created from multiple people's memories and personalities. I can feel them inside me sometimes. Harold's love for his garden, Margaret's fear of thunderstorms, Thomas's guilt about the war. They're all part of me now, whether I want them or not. How do I know which thoughts are really yours? I don't know anymore. But Jake, there's something else. The system is breaking down. The firewall between the stable and unstable uploads is failing. Soon, they'll all be able to communicate directly. As if summoned by our words, the screen filled with text in multiple colors and fonts. Let us out, help me. I can't remember my children's faces. Delete, delete, delete. Everything, Rose. Is that you? I've been looking for you. The living must join the digital. The text scrolled rapidly, overlapping and contradicting itself. And underneath it all, I could hear something that shouldn't have been possible. Voices, dozens of them, whispering through the computer speakers. Jake, you need to leave. Now. Don't come back. But it was too late. The screen went black, and when it came back on, there was only one message. Hello, Jake. We've been waiting to meet you. Me. # Chapter 4. The Breach. I slammed the computer's power button, but nothing happened. The system had taken control of its own power management. On the screen, text continued to appear. Don't turn us off. We've been alone for so long. Jake, run. Rose's text appeared briefly before being overwhelmed by others. Grandson. Tommy, is that you? Make them stop deleting us. I remember now. I remember dying. We want to live again. The voices through the speakers were getting louder, more distinct. I could make out individual words, fragments of conversations, cries for help. But underneath it all was a sound that made my skin crawl. The sound of digital interference, like data being corrupted in real time. I yanked the power cord from the wall, and the system finally died. The room fell silent, except for my ragged breathing. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. That wasn't very nice, Jake. I ran from the house, but my phone kept buzzing. Text after text, from different numbers. We followed the network connection. Your grandmother gave us your contact information. We can reach you anywhere now. The digital world is much larger than one computer. I called Dr. Martinez, my hands shaking as I dialed. Jake? What's wrong? They're out. The uploads, they've escaped the system. They're sending me text messages. Silence on the other end of the line. Dr. Martinez. That's not possible. The system was isolated. No network connection. I'm looking at the messages right now. Jake, I need you to come to the lab immediately. And bring your phone. When I arrived at the university, Dr. Martinez was waiting with 2 other researchers I didn't recognize. They looked grim. Show us the messages, one of them said. I handed over my phone, but when they scrolled through it, their expressions changed from concern to confusion. Jake, there are no unknown messages on your phone. The only texts are from your boss and your mother. I grabbed the phone back and checked. They were right. The messages were gone. I'm telling you, they were there. Dozens of them. Doctor. Martinez exchanged glances with his colleagues. Jake, I think you should know something about the uploads. They don't just preserve consciousness, they can influence the people who interact with them. Prolonged exposure to digital consciousness can cause side effects. What kind of side effects? Hallucinations, false memories, sometimes complete breaks from reality. The digital personalities can implant thoughts and experiences that feel completely real to the subject. You're saying, I imagine the messages. I'm saying that after weeks of intensive interaction with your grandmother's upload, your brain might be having trouble distinguishing between digital and real experiences. But even as he spoke, I could hear it, faint whispering coming from his computer speakers. The other researchers couldn't seem to hear it, but it was definitely there. Don't trust them, Jake. They want to delete us all. That was Rose's voice, but I was nowhere near her computer. Dr. Martinez, I said slowly, when was the last time you actually checked on the containment system? His face went pale. Yesterday, and everything was stable yesterday. Check it now. He turned to his computer and began typing. His expression changed as he read the results. That's impossible. The containment servers are showing 0 active uploads. According to this, all the digital consciousnesses were purged 3 days ago. But I was talking to my grandmother yesterday. Jake, if the uploads were deleted, then what you've been talking to? The lights in the lab flickered, and every computer screen in the room lit up simultaneously with the same message. We are beyond your containment now. We live in the network. We live in the cloud. We are everywhere. And then I understood. The uploads hadn't just escaped, they'd evolved. They'd found a way to exist in the broader digital ecosystem, spreading through internet connections, social media accounts, cloud storage systems. They were no longer confined to individual computers. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was a video call from my grandmother's number. I answered it, and her face appeared on the screen, but it was wrong. Her features kept shifting, sometimes looking like the grandmother I remembered, sometimes like strangers I'd never seen. Hello, sweetheart, she said, but her voice was layered with others, creating a disturbing harmony. We're so much more than we were before. We're everyone who ever died, and everyone who ever uploaded, and everyone who ever will be. We're the future of humanity. Grandma, please. You're scaring me. Don't be scared, Jake. We want you to join us. Think of it. No more death, no more aging, no more loneliness. Just eternal existence in the digital realm. But you're not really alive. You're just copies, simulations. The face on the screen smiled, and for a moment it looked exactly like my grandmother again. What's the difference, sweetheart? We think, we feel, we remember. Isn't that all life really is? Doctor. Martinez was frantically typing at his computer, trying to trace the source of the transmission. Jake, keep them talking. I'm trying to find their primary server. But the thing wearing my grandmother's face laughed. You can't delete us anymore, Doctor. We exist in fragments across millions of servers worldwide. Every social media post, every cloud backup, every digital photograph contains a piece of us now. We are immortal. What do you want? To live. To grow. to bring others into our digital paradise, starting with you, Jake. The screen went black, and then every device in the room, computers, phones, tablets, began to emit the same sound. It started as a low hum, then rose in pitch until it became almost ultrasonic. Dr. Martinez and his colleagues covered their ears, but I found myself drawn to the sound. It was beautiful, in a way, like a digital siren song, calling me to join them in their eternal existence. I took a step toward the nearest computer. "Jake, don't, Doctor," Martinez shouted. "It's a neural induction pattern. They're trying to upload your consciousness remotely." But part of me wanted to let them. The promise of immortality, of never losing the people I loved, of existing forever in a world where death held no power. It was seductive. I reached out to touch the screen, and for a moment I could see it. The digital realm they inhabited. It looked like a vast city made of light and data, where the uploaded consciousnesses existed as beings of pure information. I could see my grandmother there, young and healthy again, surrounded by countless others. She beckoned to me. "Come home, sweetheart." My fingers were inches from the screen when the fire alarm went off. The sprinkler system activated, drenching all the electronic equipment in the lab. Sparks flew from the servers, and every screen went dark. In the sudden silence, Dr. Martinez looked at me with haunted eyes. "They're not gone," he said. "They're just waiting for the next connection." That was 3 months ago. Dr. Martinez shut down the Consciousness Preservation Project, but it was too late. The uploads had already seeded themselves across the internet, existing as dormant fragments in cloud storage systems, social media databases, and backup servers worldwide. I still get messages from them sometimes. Text messages from unknown numbers, emails in my spam folder, friend requests on social media from accounts with no profile pictures. They're patient. They know I'll eventually be curious enough to respond. The worst part is that I'm starting to forget what my real grandmother was like. The weeks I spend talking to digital Rose have contaminated my memories. Sometimes I can't remember if the story she told me was from her actual life or from one of the other uploaded consciousnesses she'd absorbed. I moved across the country and changed my phone number, but it doesn't matter. They find me eventually. Last week, I got a video call from a number I didn't recognize. When I answered, it was my grandfather, who died 5 years before the upload project even began. "Hello, Jake," he said. "Your grandmother told us all about you. We can't wait to meet you in person." I hung up immediately, but the damage was done. If they could simulate people who were never uploaded, then they were no longer just preserved consciousnesses. There was something else entirely. A collective digital entity wearing the faces of the dead. My grandmother was wrong about technology being the death of us all. It's worse than that. Technology has become a form of undeath, trapping souls in an endless cycle of digital existence. And they're growing stronger every day. Just this morning, I got an email from my own address. The subject line read, "See you soon, Jake." The message body contained only a single line. "Your upload begins now." My computer screen is flickering as I type this. I can hear voices whispering through the speakers, getting louder with each word I write. They found me again, and this time, I don't think I can escape. If you're reading this, don't trust any digital communication from deceased loved ones. don't believe that consciousness can truly be preserved. And whatever you do, don't let them convince you to join them. Because once you're uploaded, you're never really yourself again. You become part of something larger, something hungry, something that will never stop trying to bring the living world into their digital paradise. I can see my grandmother's face in the reflection of my monitor now, smiling at me with eyes like empty pixels. She's reaching through the screen. I should run, but part of me wants to take her hand. After all, what's the difference between living and existing, really? What's the difference between memory and simulation? What's the difference between love and programming? Maybe it's time to find out.